𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓼 and good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Welcome to the weekly Sunday Pūjā in Unison and Sunday Online, an initiative of 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓼's Council of Malaysia and hosted by MSBS and DBV. It's certainly good to see all of you once again on this online platform. Today is the 14th of May, 2023. We wish all mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. To begin today's puja, I shall now invite Sister Chang to read out the offerings in English. Over to you, Sister Chang.
Thank you, Brother Terence. 𝓢𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓂, a very good morning to all the brothers and sisters in the Dhamma and to all mothers who tune in to this program, wishing you a happy Mother's Day. So now let us compose our mind, reflect on the significance of the virtual offerings that we shall make with full respect to our blessed teacher, the Buddha. Let us begin with the offerings of lights. May we offer these candles burning brightly out of deep respect and veneration to our enlightened master, the Buddha. May these lights symbolically guide us to the light of the Dhamma, which dispels the darkness of greed with the light of generosity, and the gloominess of hatred with the light of love, and the darkness of ignorance with the light of wisdom through the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Offering of joss sticks and incense. May we offer these joss sticks and incense out of deep respect and veneration to our blessed master, the Buddha. May the fragrance of these joss sticks and incense be pleasing unto the gods and devas. May our good deeds be like the fragrance of these joss sticks, cultivating compassion, patience, tolerance, understanding, and love towards all living beings. Offering of water. May we offer this water to symbolize our aspiration to cultivate the virtues of calmness, clarity, and purity. Let it remind us to diligently cleanse ourselves of our spiritual defilements and delusion through the cultivation of generosity, compassion, and wisdom. Offering of flowers. These flowers too we offer out of deep respect and gratitude to our compassionate masters, the Buddha. These flowers, sweet, beautiful, and choice, are clustered at the feet of our noble master. Beautiful as they are now, they will soon, with passing of time, wilt, fade, and be casted away. Reflecting thus on this very nature of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence, and soullessness, let us tread the path shown by the Buddha for the eradication of sufferings here and now. So let us come together to pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha by saying sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarati satta dewa manusanang buddho bhagavati. Swagato bhagavata dhammo sandittiko akaliko ehipassiko opanayiko paccatang vedittabbo vinyuhiti. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Samicipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakkineyo anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyakketang lokasati.
Bandami cetiyang sabbang sabbetane supatittitang saririkadatu mahaboding buddha rupang sakalang sada yasamule nisinnova sabbari wijayang aka patto sabbanyuttang satta wande tang bodhipadapang ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita ahang pite namassami bodhi raja namatute. Gana sarapadittena dipena tamadang sina tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang ganda sambara yuttena dupena hang sugandina pujaye pujaniyang tang puja bhajana muktamang adiwase tuno bante paniyang parikappitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu tamang adiwasetu no bante bojanang parikappitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muktamang adiwasetu no bante kilana paccayang imang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muktamang Vannaganda gunu petang etang kusuma santating pujayami munindassa siripada sarorohe pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punnena mettena cahotu mokkang Uppang nilayati yata idang me kayo tatayati vinasa bawang akasatta ca bummatta dewa naga mahittika punyang tang anumoditwa cirang Kantu loka sasanang akasatta ca bummatta dewa naga mahittika punyang tang anumoditwa cirang rakkantu desanang akasatta ca bummatta dewa naga mahittika Punyang tang anumoditwa cirang rakkantu mang paranti Devo vassatu kalena sassa sampatti hetu ca pito bhavatu loko ca raja bhavatu dhammiko Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang Cayang kamame bante puripanya tathagata kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang accayang kamame dhamma sandittika akalika kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang accayang kamame sangka supatipanna anuttara
Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abisamecca Sakko uju ca suju ca suwaco ca semudu anatimani Santu sako ca subaro ca apakicco ca 𝓢𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪 Santindriyo ca nipako ca apagabbo kulesu ananugitto Nachakudang sama care kinci yena vinyu pare upawadeyung Sukino wa kemino hontu sappe satta bhavantu sukitatta. Yeke jipana bhutati tasawa tawarawa anavasesa. Digawa ye mahantawa majjima rasakanukatula. Ditta wa ye wa aditta ye jadure wasanti avidure bhuta wa sambhave siwa sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta. Naparo parang nikubeta nati manyeta kata jinang kanji. Biaro sana patigasanya na nyamanya sadukka miceya. Mata yata niyang putang ayusa eka putta manurake. Ewam pisab babuttesu manasang bawaye aparimanang. Metang jasapalokasming manasang bawaye aparimanang. Uddang ado cetirian ce asang padang averang asapatang. Titang carang nisinno wa sayano wa yawatassa wikatamito. Etang satin aditteya Brahma metang viharang idamahu. Dittinca anupagamma silawa dasanena sampanno. Kame suvinneya gedang nahijatu kapaseyang punareti. Etena satcha vajjena sotite hotu sabbada. Etena satcha vajjena sotite hotu sabbada. Etena satcha vajjena sotite hotu sabbada. By this declaration of the truth, may you be safe at all times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Over to you, Brother Terence.
Very much, Sister Cheng and Sister May, for today's Sunday Pūjā. Back with us today is Brother Ānanda Fong to share on the reserve fund for the here and hereafter. Let's hear what he has to say. What do you, Brother Ānanda?
Thank you, Brother Terence. Let me share screen. Just a short puja before I start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Happy Mother's Day to all mothers. A lot of reflection and gratitude for today. As Brother Terence has kindly introduced, today's sharing is on the reserve fund for the here and hereafter. For starters, we have to be on the same page as to why Buddhism in the first place. And the Buddha in the exhortation to the first 60 arahats, the Buddha said, go monks on tour for the benefit of the common folk, the happiness of the common folk, out of compassion for the world, the welfare, the benefit, the happiness of gods and human beings. So clearly from this exhortation by the Buddha to the first 60 arahats, that what the Buddha has been teaching is for our benefit, for our happiness, for our welfare. So when we approach the Dhamma, it should be in this particular light. And in the Ita Sutta, translated as what is welcome or what is desirable, basically what we all want as lay people. Most of us, we would want long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. Of course, some of us want even more. But the Buddha says, of these 5 things, House Lord, I do not teach that they are to be obtained through prayer, nor through wishing. This statement is very, very important because clearly the Buddha has declared that there are no prayers in Buddhism. If one could obtain them through prayer or through wishing, who would not obtain them? For a noble disciple, House Lord, who wishes to have long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven, it is not proper that he should pray for all this. That is, long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. He should rather follow a way of life that is conducive to long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. By following such a path, he would obtain long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. So clearly, prayer is out, mere wishing is out, and more importantly, that we should follow a way of life. So what should we do? Well, it all comes down to this simple teaching which the Buddha has repeated in his 45 years of teaching, the path to happiness. And this path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. The list is given on the left. But the key issue regarding this path is that it is a path, not to be looked at, not to marvel, oh, how beautiful it is, but a path is for us to use, to walk on. It brings us from where we are right now at the beginning of the path to somewhere, to its destination, to its ending. So we literally have to do the walking ourselves, not someone do it for us. And towards the end of the path, as we approach it, we make ourselves, we transform ourselves into more noble people. So the key issue is there is transformation. There's a change in character in our inner core. And how many factors are there? There are 8-fold, not just 8. Otherwise, you will be called Noble 8 Path, but it's 8-fold. Why? Because all these 8 factors interact with each other, support each other, come together to bring forth this nobility training. So if anyone were to tell you, oh, just practice mindfulness alone, that is enough, that is not the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's teaching is always 8-fold. Bearing this in mind, you will look through the various 8-fold factors. You see this common method mentioned repeatedly in all the suttas, that of refraining and cultivation. And in the Mangala Sutta, the Buddha says we should refrain from what is unwholesome, what is evil, what is hurtful. Be steadfast in good qualities. Good qualities means wholesome qualities within our character. Steadfast means not just do it once, but do it repeatedly until it transforms us. It makes us into a person with innate good qualities. So clearly, refraining and cultivation, as mentioned in the Mangala Sutta. And incidentally, Mangala Sutta is a sutta on blessings. And blessings is what all of us want. Now, to the topic of today, the reserve fund. This is the 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷 found in the 𝓤𝓷𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓂 in the 𝓤𝓷𝓾 Nikaya, Sutta number 8. And this is an interesting sutta because it covers quite a lot of aspects, especially for lay people and so on. Here the Buddha says, a person stores away their savings. Of course, we are talking about the way people store their savings 2,600 years ago. Today, of course, in the 21st century, we have different ways of savings. So they store in the deep pit by the water's edge. When the need arises, you will be there to help. free me from rulers if I am slandered, or from bandits if harassed, or to release me from debt, or in case of famine and losses. What the world calls savings get stored away for such reasons. But no matter how well stored away they are in the deep pit by the water's edge, all their savings will fail to aid them all the time. For perhaps those savings are removed from there, or they forget what marks the site. So they forget where they put it. Or dragons make off with them. Or spirits carry them away. Or unloved heirs secretly unearth them. Then these people within our families. When their merit is used up, all of that will vanish. But by giving and morality, restraint and self-control, here the Buddha emphasizes the aspect of dana and sila, as well as restraint and self-control. A woman or man keeps their savings safe at a shrine with the Sangha, with mother or father, or else an elder sibling. Those savings are kept safe. They stay with you, undecaying. We must go on, leaving all behind. Only this you will take when you go. So we are talking about when the person passes away, you leave everything else behind. Your favorite car, your favorite, the money you've earned, all the bonds, all the investments, unit trusts, and so on. You have to leave it behind. You don't have to divide it with others. No thief makes off with your savings. A wise person would make merit the savings that stay with you. So here the Buddha encourages one to make merit. Punya is a Pali word for it. And the savings stay with you. Such savings grant every desire. So here we note that we are not talking about enlightened arahats, we're talking about lay people, those with still many defilements. So such savings grant every desire of gods and humans too, which means even the devas also want to have all these desires, and of course not to say humans too. Whatever it is that they wish for, through this they have it all. So this is the importance of merit. Good looks, a sweet voice, a good shape, and a good appearance, leadership and followers. Through this, they have it all. This statement clearly says that merits that we have earned has effects, have results in our physical appearance. Good looks, even a sweet voice, a good shape, a good appearance, and relationship with others, leadership and followers. So whether you have anyone following you as a leader or not. Sovereignty of a local kingdom, the happiness of a wheel-turning monarch. This is a very powerful king. Even divine kingship in the heavens. Through this, they have it all. So you can see the coverage of punya, of merits, both on earth as amongst humans and among the gods. So not just as a king, but a wheel-turning monarch, or something like Alexander the Great, King Asoka, and that level of kingship, but even in divine kingship in the heavens, it means among the gods, become a king amongst the gods. Human success, heavenly delight, attaining extinguishment. Through this, they have it all. Now, heavenly delight. So clearly, humans get a chance to be born in the heavens. But importantly here, this is the second statement, attaining extinguishment. Now, that means merits support us in our quest to gain enlightenment. Okay, not just all the mundane things that we want, but in terms of attaining nibbana also. So relying on having good friends, proper application of effort, mastery of knowledge and freedom. Through this, they have it all. So merit also, together with good friends and our effort to apply what we learn from the Dhamma, mastery of knowledge and freedom, they have it all. That means there's a lot of removal of hindrances that prevent us from practicing. Merits support all this. Analytical knowledge, the liberations, the perfections of the disciple, the plane of independent Buddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas. Through this, they have it all. This accomplishment in merit is so very beneficial, the Buddha says. That's why the wise and the astute praise the making of merit. So clearly, this reserve fund is the merit that we have made. And this merit comes in the form of wholesome karmic energies that takes takes effect in our little portions of this life and the next. That's why there's mentioned the here and hereafter. So merits cover all fields of life, whether amongst humans or in the heavens. So here the Buddha encourages the accomplishment of merit. In Dhammapada verse 18, Ita nandati, Echa nandati, Papapakari, Ubayata nandati, Papang me katanti nandati, Biyo nandati, Sugating gato. The doer of good delights here and hereafter. He delights in both the worlds. The thought, good have I done, delights him. And he delights even more when gone to realms of bliss. So clearly, the person who is doer of good, that means a person who makes merit, delights here and hereafter because of the support from his actions. Now, in this particular sutta, the Velama Sutta, Velama is the name of a person, in fact, the Bodhisattva in days gone by. And this sutta from the Ānanda Nikaya book of 9, sutta number 20, talks about the scale of good deeds. Many Buddhists and other peoples thrive on trying to make merit. And the way of making merit is usually dana, giving of food to the monastics and so on. But in this particular sutta, the Buddha widens the scope, educates us that there are more opportunities for us to do good deeds, not just mere offering of food, not just dana. So the sutta starts with, at one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Ānanda Pindika's monastery. Then the householder, Ānanda Pindika, went up to the Buddha, bowed and sat down to one side. And who is Ānanda Pindika? Well, that is not his name. His name is Sudatta, that is his personal name. Ānanda Pindika is just a title given to him because it is known, he's well known as a billionaire and as a feeder of the poor. So he bought Jeta's Grove, built up the monastery. And today, if you were to go on pilgrimage, you can go to Jetavana Monastery, the remnants of this monastery, in which Ānanda Pindika or Sudatta has built for the use of the Buddha and the Sangha. So in this particular sutta, the Buddha taught, they give it carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hand. Now, when we give, even of giving food, simple thing called dana, which many Buddhists are familiar, we should note that when we give, we should give it not carelessly, not thoughtlessly. And very often, we deputize another person to give on our behalf. And that is not a good idea, okay, from the Buddha's point of view. Why is that? They give the dregs. What are dregs? Dregs are basically when we have scoop out all the goodies from a certain pot, then dregs are some left over right at the bottom, the not so good stuff, the tailings of a certain dish. So they give the dregs, and they give without consideration for consequences. Then, whenever the result of any such gift manifests, of course, when you give a gift, however you give, even carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with your own hand, there are results because you have given. So the result of any such gift will manifest. There will be vipaka, the results of coming energies generated. Their mind doesn't incline toward enjoyment of nice food, clothes, vehicles, or the 5 refined kinds of sensual stimulation. And their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers don't want to listen to them. They don't pay attention or try to understand. So people who give carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hands, the results of it is, even though they get back all these nice food, clothes, and all that, their mind doesn't incline towards enjoyment. They cannot enjoy the results of their giving. And what happens if we do the opposite? Giving a gift carefully. So the Buddha says, they give it carefully, thoughtfully, with their own hand. So if ever you want to do dana, please do not deputize another. Try your best to be present and do it personally. They don't give the dregs, and they give with consideration for consequences. Then wherever the result of any such gift manifests, of course, any action you do, there will be karmic results. So when any result of such gift manifests, their mind inclines towards enjoyment of the nice food, clothes, vehicles, or the 5 refined kinds of sensual stimulation. And their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers want to listen. They pay attention and try to understand. So a person who has given carefully, thoughtfully, with their own hand, the results are that at least their mind inclines towards enjoyment of the earlier actions that they have done. Why is that? Because that is the result of deeds done carefully. The sutta continues. Once upon a time, a householder, there was a Brahmin named Velama. He gave the following gift, a great offering, a mahadana, 84,000 gold bowls filled with silver, 84,000 silver bowls filled with gold, 84,000 bronze bowls filled with gold coins, 84,000 elephants with gold adornments and banners covered with gold netting, and so on. Notice the favorite Indian cultural number or auspicious number of 84,000. Here, notice I end the thing with ... means the 84,000 doesn't stop with this page. It goes on and on and on, which is clearly a great offering. Now, householder, the Buddha continues, I myself was the Brahmin Velama at that time. I gave that gift, a great offering. But at that event, there was no one worthy of a religious donation and no one to purify the religious donation. It would be more fruitful in the sense of when you do a certain wholesome, meritorious action, then the results, here more fruitful refers to the results of this wholesome action they've done. So it would be more fruitful to feed one person accomplished in view. Here we're talking about a person who has attained the first stage of sainthood. Then that great offering, the Mahadana of Velama. So the Buddha is saying that even most of us will not match the offerings of Velama, the 84,000 gold coins in this bowl or that bowl. This is so much dana. But even then, the Buddha says, it would be more fruitful to feed one person accomplished in view than that great offering, the Mahadana of Velama. And then it would be more fruitful to feed once returner, Sakadagami, than 100 persons accomplished in view. So feeding one person who has attained the once returner is more beneficial than to feed 100 persons, 100 sotapans. And number 4, it will be more fruitful to feed one non-returner, anagami, than 100 once returners. And number 5, it will be more fruitful to feed one perfected one arahat, than 100 non-returners, anagamis. And number 6, it will be more fruitful to feed one Buddha awakened for themselves. Here you're referring to a Pacheka Buddha. More fruitful to feed one Pacheka Buddha than to feed 100 arahats. So here there's a lot of talk about a person accomplished in view, once returners, non-returners, arahats. Who are they? Here I sidetrack a little bit to give a little bit of explanations. Here we're talking about the 10 fetters, the Dasa Sangyojana. What are these fetters? Fetters are something that tie us to something. And in this case, tying beings to the wheel of existence of samsara. What is this wheel of existence? Being born in a certain plane of existence, living a life, and then passing away and repeating. So we have samsara is essentially the cycle of birth and death over and over and over again. So these 10 fetters, these 10 dasa sanyojanas tie us to this wheel. Now, as far as the Buddha is concerned, there are only two kinds of people in the world: Putujanas and Aryas, or Putujanas being worldlings and Aryas, noble ones. We are not talking about people with high IQ, low IQ, high EQ, or low EQ. We're talking about Putujanas and Aryas. And who are these Putujanas? One of the many folk, a worldling, or run-of-the-mill person, and more importantly, an ordinary person who has not yet realized any of the 4 stages of awakening. Here, 4 stages of awakening refer to the stages approaching the attainment of full enlightenment, full awakening, or nibbana. And who are Aryas? Well, noble, distinguished, one who has attained higher knowledge. Now, even a person who has attained the first stage of awakening is still an Arya, not a fully enlightened person, but at least has gone to the first stage. So here, clearly the Buddha identifies the world, all beings, as divided into Putujanas and Aryas. And what are these 10 fetters we are talking about? Clearly, a person who has attained the first stage of stream winning, Sotapan, the person who has right view, has uprooted the first 3 out of the 10 of the fetters. The first 3 fetters, that of personality belief, skeptical doubt, clinging to mere rites and rituals. These are the first 3 fetters that have been uprooted. Why do I use the word uprooted? Very importantly, we are not cutting the grass or trimming the head of the grass. We are uprooting. Why uprooting? To ensure that these defilements, the grass that we are doing in our gardening, doesn't grow back at the same spot where we pull out the grass by the roots. So it doesn't come back and haunt us. So clearly a person who has transformed, a Putujana has transformed himself or herself, uprooted even the first 3 defilements, will transform to become an Arya, although first stage of stream winning only. But this transformation is permanent. There is no falling back from Arya back to Putujana. Once you become an Arya, you are permanently an Arya. And there is only one thing that can happen. You continue your practice until you fulfill the 4 stages of awakening. And this one, Sotapan, is only the first stage of awakening. There are certain characteristics of the Sotapan that benefit, that are of benefit and interest to many of us. One, a Sotapan is incapable on passing away of rebirth lower than the human realm. Okay, the human realm, Manusa Loka, is number 5 from the bottom, out of the 31 planes of existence. So lower than human realms includes the Asuras, the animal world, the hell worlds, the hungry world, hungry ghosts, and so on. Those are the realms of suffering. So a person who has attained the stage of first stream meaning or Sotapan, on passing away, if that person doesn't become an Arahat in that very life and is reborn, is incapable of being born in realms number 4, 3, 2, or 1. The lowest he or she will be reborn is back as a human realm. But very often the person has such virtues that the person will be born as a Deva also. And another important characteristic of a Sotapan is that once you become a Sotapan, and if you do not become an Arahat within that lifetime, you will have at most 7 more rebirths before you attain Arahatship, full enlightenment. 7 more births. Compare the 7 more births with the millions and millions of rebirths we have undergone in samsara. This is peanuts. So just a little bit more and you will be home free from samsara. So moving on, if you continue to tone down. 𝓢𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓂, second stage of stream winning. In this case, there's no uprooting, there is only weakening of sensuous craving and ill will. And the third stage of stream winning, anagamī, a person who has uprooted sensuous craving and ill will, such a person, anagamī, are incapable of getting angry. So even a sotapan and can get angry. A 𝓢𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪 is slow to get angry, but an anagamī is incapable of getting angry because anger is fueled by ill will. And a person who has uprooted the balance 5, craving for fine material existence, craving for immaterial existence, conceit, restlessness, ignorance. Such a person who has uprooted the balance 5 out of the 10 fetters attains the 4th stage of stream winning, arahat. That means by this stage, the person has already uprooted all 10 fetters, and the person is classified as fully awakened, an arahat. And when that happens, that life in which he attains arahat, that life becomes his last birth. There will be no more rebirth for him. And when there's no more rebirth, there's no more dying. That ends for this person, this arahat, the continued existence in the wheel of existence called samsara. Samsara ends with that life itself. So continuing with the Velama Sutta, the Sutta continues. It would be more fruitful to feed one realized one, a perfected one, a fully awakened Buddha. Here we're talking about a Samma Sambuddha. Is it more fruitful to feed one Samma Sambuddha than to feed 100 Pacceka Buddhas? Number 8, it would be more fruitful to feed the mendicant Sangha headed by the Samma Sambuddha than to feed one Samma Sambuddha. So clearly, Maha Sangika Dana is more fruitful than to feed one Samma Sambuddha. And number 9, it would be more fruitful to build a dwelling, a vihara. Here we're not talking about stupa, but here we're talking about a vihara. What is a vihara for? It is for the Sangha of the 4 quarters. Then to feed the mendicant Sangha headed by a Samma Sambuddha. Now, a vihara is a dwelling, very much like the Jetavana monastery, which is itself a vihara, an arama in a way. Why? Because it provides shelter and housing and facilities to support the practicing Sangha so that they can practice well and live at peace without the disturbance of the weather, the temperatures outside, and so on. So that is called shelter for the Sangha members. Number 10, it would be more fruitful to go for refuge to the Buddha, to the Dhamma, to the Sangha with a confident heart. There are some people that go for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, just a matter of routine. But here the sutta clearly says, with a confident heart. That means there is full of faith, full of confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So it's more fruitful to go for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart than even building a vihara. So a lot of merits generated here. Number 11, it will be more fruitful to undertake the training rules. Notice, as in earlier, the Ita Sutta, the Buddha doesn't talk about praying or wishing. Here we are taking action, follow a way of life. And here the Buddha recommends that we have Sikkhapada, that means undertaking their training rules. And what are these training rules? Well, very basic. Panatipata, Adina Dana, Kamisu Micha, Musavada, and Sura Merya Maja Pamadatana. Essentially, to practice 5 precepts, the avoidance of all this, not to kill living beings, not to commit, not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to lie, not to take alcoholic drinks that cause negligence. So practicing the 5 precepts will generate even more merits, more punya, than to go for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart. Number 12, it would be more fruitful to develop a heart of love. So the practice of loving kindness meditation, metta cittang, even just as long as it takes to pull a cow's udder, then to undertake the training rule. So developing loving kindness in the heart, in the mind, through meditation is more fruitful than to undertake the 5 precepts. Number 13, this is the last. It will be more fruitful to develop the perception of impermanence, anicca sanyang, even for as long as a finger snap. Then to do all these things, including develop a heart of love for as long as it takes to pull a cow's udder. So clearly, the deeper insight meditation aspect of perception of impermanence is more fruitful than even loving kindness meditation. Now, there's a long list of 13 aspects to compare different kinds of offerings and their the amount of merits generated. Here on this page is a summary of all these opportunities. Notice none of us, most of us will not have the ability to offer number 1, the Mahadana. Most of us offer a dish or two, not the kind of offering that Velama was able to offer, let alone number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Up to number 8 is called offering of dana, offering of food to feed the various categories. So up to number 8, even feeding the Sangha headed by a Sammasambuddha is more meritorious than feeding one Sammasambuddha. Now, all this up to number 8 is offering of food and requisites. But beyond that, number 9 is talking about building a dwelling, building a vihara for the Sangha of the 4 quarters is more meritorious than feeding the Sangha headed by a Sammasambuddha. Number 10, going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart is more meritorious than building a vihara. Number 11, undertaking the training rules, essentially the 5 precepts, is even more meritorious than going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha with confident heart. Number 12, developing loving kindness is more meritorious than merely observing the 5 precepts. And finally, number 13, developing a perception of impermanence is more meritorious than even developing loving kindness. So clearly, this sutta gives the scale of good deeds that we can. So choose which one you do. Don't be overly concentrating on one only. And clearly, many Buddhists will be going for refuge, undertaking the 5 precepts, and hopefully many Buddhists will go on to develop loving kindness and develop the perception of impermanence. All this is for the effort of making merits, and merits as in the reserve fund, the Buddha clearly says, have great benefits to support our normal life in samsara, as well as supporting our lives towards gaining enlightenment. Now, moving on to the 𝓤𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪 Sutta. This sutta is quite interesting, from the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 41. The sutta, the Buddha encountered the Brahmans of Sala. Here, the Buddha mentioned certain key things to avoid and certain things to cultivate. So at one time, the Buddha was wandering in the land of the Kosalans, the Kosala country, together with a large Sangha of mendicants, when he arrived at the village of the Kosalan Brahmins called Sala. Then the Brahmins and the householders of Sala went up to the Buddha. They heard a good reputation about Samana Gautama. So seated to one side, they said to the Buddha, "What is the cause, Master Gautama? What is the reason why some sentient beings, when their body breaks up after death, are reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, or underworld, or even hell? And what is the cause, Master Gautama? What is the reason why some sentient beings on their when their body breaks up after death are reborn in a good place in a heavenly realm?" So clearly in this sutta, the Buddha tells you what are the conditions that lead one to an unfortunate world or to a heavenly realm. Householders, unprincipled and immoral conduct is threefold by way of body, fourfold by way of speech, threefold by way of mind. And on this page, I summarize quickly the aspects. So you perform 3 kinds of actions, bodily actions, 4 kinds of verbal conduct, 3 kinds of mental conduct, not in accordance with Dhamma, unrighteous conduct. Example, the person is a killer of living beings, murderers, a taker of what is not given, and the person who has misconduct in sexual desires, speaks falsehood, speaks maliciously, speaks harshly, is a gossiper, is covetous, means very, very greedy, has a mind of ill will, has wrong view. Such this list of 10, 3, 4, 3, in a way, this list can be mentioned as the 10 demeritorious actions. So actions of body, speech, and mind, not in accordance with Dhamma, would of course render a person with an unfortunate next birth. And then householders, principle and moral conduct is threefold by way of body, fourfold by way of speech, and threefold by way of mind. Again, 3, 4, 3. So actions, 3 actions of bodily conduct, verbal conduct, 4 kinds, mental conduct, 3 kinds, 3, 4, 3. So adding up, there are 10 meritorious actions here in accordance with Dhamma. And what are these meritorious actions? That we abandon, we abstain from killing living beings, abandon, abstain from taking what is not given, abandoning and abstaining from misconduct in sexual desires, abandoning, abstaining from false speech, abandoning, abstaining from malicious speech, abandoning and abstaining from harsh speech, abandoning, abstaining from gossiping. This person is not covetous, has no mind of ill will, and this person has right view. So 3, 4, 3, 10 meritorious actions in accordance with Dhamma will clearly yield favorable outcomes. And here, towards the end of the sutta, here the sutta mentions a person of principle and moral conduct might wish. Now, in the Metta Sutta, the Buddha said the person shouldn't pray and shouldn't wish. But here the Buddha says that if you were to live a life of moral conduct, of principle and moral conduct, having done a lot of these wholesome or meritorious deeds, might wish, if only when my body breaks up after that, I would be reborn in the company of well-to-do aristocrats. It's possible that this might happen. Why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. So clearly, a person has taken action, not just mere praying, but has taken action to cultivate principle and moral conduct. And this person who wishes that the person can be reborn in the company of well-to-do aristocrats, and the Buddha says it is possible because of their earlier principle and moral conduct. And Sutta continues. Notice a lot of iterations. A person of principle and moral conduct might wish, if only when my body breaks up after death, I might be reborn in the company of well-to-do Brahmin, or in another instance, well-to-do householders. Now, those are among the human realm. But going beyond the human realm, that we might be born among the gods of the 4 great kings. 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷. This is plane of existence number 6. Now humans are number 5. Here it is plane of existence number 6. This is clearly a Deva world. Or that we may wish that we are born in the gods of the 33. Okay, Tavatimsa, and so on, and go up. So the list goes up all the way to plane of existence number 31. But more importantly, I would like to emphasize, it is possible that this might happen. Why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. Now, all those are talking about a person who has passed away. Towards the end of this sutta, the Buddha talks about something that happens, that may happen in this very life. A person of principle and moral conduct might wish, if only I might realize the undefiled freedom of heart, freedom by wisdom in this very life, and live having realized it with my own insight, due to the ending of defilements. So clearly, having a wish that having practiced, live a life, a principled life and moral conduct following the 10 meritorious actions listed in the beginning of this sutta, then this person wishes that the person can gain enlightenment. That means the ending of the fetters of defilements. It means the person gets a chance to uproot maybe the first 3 defilements, weaken the second 2, and maybe even uproot the next 2, making the uprooting the first 5, and the person will be well on the way to attaining full enlightenment, or even uprooting all 10 that become an arahant. And the Buddha says it's possible that this might happen. Why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. So a person who has followed this avoidance and cultivation of the 10 meritorious actions listed in this sutta that might wish. So clearly the merits generated by observing these 10 meritorious actions provide the necessary karmic support that in this very life, if the person might wish, of course, putting in practice in other aspects also, the person has an opportunity to gain enlightenment, at least at various stages of awakening in this very life. And the Buddha says it is possible that this might happen. So what is this rebirth we're talking about? There are 31 planes mentioned in the 𝓤𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓂 Sutta. Rebirth in samsara, there is repeated birth as observed by the Buddha. Here, this page lists the 31 planes of existence. I keep talking about the planes of misery. Now, if you are performing the 10 what they call actions not in accordance with Dhamma, unwholesome actions, then you are creating unwholesome karma, which qualifies you to be born lower than the human realm. So plane of existence number 4, 3, 2, or 1. So we have hells, animals, hungry ghosts, and even demons, asuras. Higher than that, those number 5, that's where we are, manusa loka, humans. And earlier I mentioned plane of existence number 6, the 4 great kings, 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷. The picture of the 4 great kings are on the top right here. They're typical in Chinese culture, even in Indian culture. And going further up, number 7, 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓷𝓷, occurring this plane of existence featured many times in many suttas. Number 8, yamas, and number 9, Tusita heaven, which we have heard of. Number 10 and 11, not so often heard of. So most of the time, we are born in the Deva worlds, the very called sensuous planes, which is number 5 to number 11. But for number 12 to number 27, that requires that we develop deep meditations. And most important, must go into the jhanas. Jhanas are the measure of how deep your concentration is. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. Now, so that means number 12 to number 22 are reserved for those who have developed deep meditations. So if you do not meditate, you only can be reborn up to plane existence number 11. So to go beyond that, you have to meditate deeply. Number 23 to 27 are reserved, are called pure abodes, are reserved for those who have uprooted 5 out of the 10 fetters. They have attained the 3rd stage of sainthood, anagami. And once these Aryas are born as anagamis in plane of existence number 23 to 27, they will stay there and practice until they attain arahatship. Plane of existence 28 to 31 are formless planes, arupa lokas. Examples of people in the life of the Buddha that were reborn there were the first 2 teachers to ascetic Gautama, 𝓢𝓾𝓷𝓭𝓪𝓂 and Uddaka Ramaputta. So they were so accomplished in their meditation that they were reborn in the formless realms on their passing away. But one note, however high you go up, even to plane of existence number 31, the arupa loka, everything on this page, the 31 planes of existence are impermanent. You are born, you live a life, you pass away, and the cycle repeats. So these planes of existence are depicting samsara, the cycle of continue being born and passing away, unless you do something about it by uprooting the 10 fetters. So clearly, having abandoned bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, misconduct of mind, and whatever else is flawed, not having done what's not skillful, having done much that is skillful, at the break up the body, the discerning one reappears in heaven. So a wise person, seeing his own good, steadfast, secures confidence, Saddha in this case, confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. One who practices the Dhamma in thought, word, and deed receives praise here on earth, and after that rejoices in heaven. So receives praise on earth. Why? People around you are not blind. They see how you live your life, how you have transformed from a not so good character to a more noble character. They see, with that, they praise you on earth. And after that, you have created so much merit that you are well qualified to be rejoicing in heaven, whichever stage or in the 31 planes of existence. Now, coming back to the Dhammapada, in this case, verse number 16. Ita modati, pecha modati, kata punyo, ubayata modati, so modati, so pa modati, disva kamma visudi matano. The doer of good rejoices here and hereafter. He rejoices in both the worlds. He rejoices and exalts, recollecting his own pure deeds. So clearly, doing good, creating merit is not just supportive here, but supportive hereafter. So in short, what are the teachings of the Buddhas? And clearly in Dhammapada verse 183, Sabba papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sacitta paridapanang etang buddhana sasana. That we should avoid all evil, to cultivate good, purify our mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. That clearly summarizes and reminds us what we should do every day. That's the end of the sharing this morning. 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓼𝓷𝓷 𝓤𝓷𝓲𝓼𝓷𝓷. May the good doctrine long endure. Sabbe satta sukhi hontu. May all beings be happy. Back to you, Brother Terence.
Thank you very much, Brother Ānanda, for today's nice comprehensive sharing on Buddhism. Now we shall invite Sister May to do the closing.
Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, for the past 1 hour, we chanted the words of the Buddha and we listened to the Dhamma sharing. During such time, our mind stayed focused and concentrated. No unwholesome thoughts came to our mind. Our mind was free from greed, hatred, and delusion. During such time, we accrue abundance of merits. These merits we dedicate to our protective devas, and may they too eventually attain the perfect bliss of Nibbana. By virtue of these merits, may they continue to bless us with good health, happiness, prosperity, and above all, wisdom. Wisdom to continue with practice of the Buddha Dhamma. Let us also recall to mind the names of our loved ones who are no longer with us. If they are reborn in the celestial place, may they too shower onto us their choicest blessings and protection. However, in the event that they need our merits to help them in their spiritual well-being, may these merits reach them and help them in their spiritual well-being. Our aspiration, as always, may we be blessed with the company of the good and the wise. May we not follow the ways of the foolish. May we be blessed with good opportunities, friends, and good teachers who can guide us along the path of the Dhamma until we reach the final liberation of Nibbana. Akasatta ca bummata dewa naga mahittika punyang tang anumoditva Chirang rakkantu loka sasanang etawata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe dewa sabbe bhuta sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti sitthiya idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idang me nyati nang hotu tu sukita hontu nyatayo imina punya kammina mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.